Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Joanna Nixon.
I am Dr. Vilma Pacheco Barcia, and this is Open Doors Podcast, two women scientists driven by curiosity, evidence, and compassion.
Hello again, and welcome back to Open Doors, the podcast where we explore professional well-being in oncology and beyond, one conversation at a time. Today, we're diving into a conversation that's especially relevant for clinician researchers at any stage of their careers, but particularly those stepping into the unknown of research fellowship.
Thrilled to be joined by Dr. Yago Garitaonaindia, a medical oncologist passionate about advancing lung cancer and melanoma treatment with a focus on immuno-oncology. He previously worked in Hospital Puerta de Hierro in Madrid, and he has recently embarked on a translational research fellowship in the National Center of Cancer Immunotherapy of Denmark. This time, he's diving into a different academic culture while continuing his work in immuno-oncology, one of the fastest moving fields in cancer medicine.
We will talk about the hidden challenges of fellowships, from grant requirements, language hurdles, the tension between clinical and translational goals, and how to stay well, look after yourself through it all. Dr. Yago also brings a keen perspective on burnout and mental health in academic medicine, and he will share his thoughts on how to stay grounded, how to be productive and up to date in the field that is changing and evolving rapidly.
He's also deeply interested in burnout, not just studying, but understanding how it plays out in real time during transitions like this. Welcome, Yago.
Thank you both for welcoming me. I'm really happy to share some of perspectives together.
You are joining from a new post abroad, aren't you? So can you tell us more about where you are and what kind of research you're doing?
Sure. I'm currently living in Copenhagen, where as Vilma said, I'm developing a translational research focused fellow in immuno-oncology within the Center for Cancer Immunotherapy of Denmark. My research focus is mainly TIL therapy and the dynamics of the TILs within melanoma patients. It's been a big deal for me since now I'm completely focused in the lab part, and I'm used to be a clinician.
Well, it's a big deal to move countries and step into a new lab or clinic. How's it felt so far? What surprised you or challenged you most in these first few weeks?
Well, I would say the language is the clear handicap here, as you need to speak Danish to interact with patients, and which of course I don't. It's a really difficult language. Fortunately, it's not necessary in the research part, where we speak mostly in English. There are many people from abroad, and the environment is really productive. You have the opportunities to share thoughts and ideas with people who have a really and complete different background. And of course, the lab it is entering like in a complete new world, and you need to learn everything from zero.
Sounds very challenging. I think a lot of people imagine research fellowships as a one thing. However, there's a huge difference between a clinical fellowship and translational programs.
Right. Actually, Joanna, clinical research often means patient facing trials, clinical data. Translational tends to lean into the lab mechanisms, sometimes without direct patient contact.
So, Yago, you're working in a translational setting now, but you've had experience in a clinical role before. What are the differences that you're noticing so far?
Sure. I would say there are three big differences. The first one is time, since now I'm completely focused on my research project. So I feel that I can move faster with them. While in the clinical setting, so it's true that I love them, but patients care take most of the time, even when you are focusing on the research. The second one, I would say, it's the rhythm. We work a lot, but you are not inside taking ultra fast decisions like we are used to doing in clinics. And the third one is that the day is completely different, and you need to know about so many fields. Like you need to know about biology, you need to know about technology, bioinformatics, and it's difficult to get on the top of all of these topics at the same time.
That actually, Yago, is echoed in literature. I mean, when you're doing translational medicine, you need to juggle between responsibilities across clinical care, teaching, and research. And while these researchers are deeply motivated by translated clinical needs into patient care innovations, the traditional academic work reward system mostly values publication metrics. That means the full scope of your work, Yago, or the work done by translational researchers, especially the clinical and educational parts, often goes under recognized.
Very true, Vilma. And this mismatch can create additional stress, especially when trying to balance multiple roles, wearing multiple hats. And it's a real structural challenge and problem that can impact on career progression and well-being for translational fellows around the world.
And also the road to fellowship. Yago, before we get into your day to day experience now, we would like to rewind a bit. There's a process behind finding a research fellowship abroad, especially one that aligns with your interests. So, could you walk us through how you approach that phase? Were there specific hurdles that surprised you?
Well, that road was a difficult part. In my experience, I approached many PIs to explore different kind of fellowships. The main difficulty that I found, I would say, was regarding the funding of the fellow. For instance, many of the fellows that were funded by the institution were not really translational or research focused, but more focused in clinical duties. For instance, I'm thinking in phase one trial units that I've asked. For my previous experience, I knew that I wanted a translational focus one, so the best option for me was applying for a grant. So I contacted the group that I wanted to join, which was led by Professor Marco Donia, and we together applied for the Spanish Society grant, the SEOM.
Thanks for sharing. And once you had something lined up, something in place, the grant funding side of things, that's there's often the assumption that once this is sorted, everything falls into place. But in reality, getting institutional approvals, securing financial support, even sorting out visas if you are moving abroad, it's a whole separate journey, isn't it?
Completely agree. And thank God the grant for me was for an EU country, so I need no visa. But I found a really big deal with the Danish tax agency since Spain and Denmark doesn't have don't have a double taxation agreement. So I end up paying taxes in both countries at the same time, and it's quite a nightmare. Also, you have troubles with the recognition of the title or the specialization, which in Denmark is not straightforward. So there are some complications that you are not aware, and it takes some time to get used to them.
And also, Yago, many of our listeners, especially early career researchers, often say that the hardest part is not even doing the fellowship, but as you were saying before, getting to the starting line. Like you decide you're going to do a fellowship, you're going to start it, but it might be difficult just to get there. Was that your experience too?
Definitely. I would say it takes a lot of time actually being on it. For in my experience, it took me more than a year from start asking, thinking about it, to properly start the fellow. But if you have the idea clear, it's all start asking and looking for the opportunities. I think the most difficult part is being sure that you want to go through this experience because I knew that I wanted, and even when the moment was approaching, I had doubts because I was very comfortable in my hospital, and I was really thinking, do I really want to go through this experience?
Yeah. So if I hear you right, you really need to want this so that you can
Yes,
go
completely.
through all these complex process to get at the end and yeah, apply for the fellowship and get it.
Mhm.
Did you find any specific strategies or mentorship support helpful to navigate all this complex landscape with applications, permissions, and the logistics?
Zero, not really. My mentoring was restricted to where to go and the direction of the career, but the administrative part was fully self-learned, and yeah, I didn't have anywhere to look. It was a bit tough.
Sounds tough, and I think you will be an amazing mentor because you've been through all that, so you can mentor others through the same journey.
I fully agree, Joanna. And also, a part of the mentoring, which is something very important, we should also talk about the language, the culture, the identity of the place you're going. I remember being at a European conference where a brilliant colleague whispered to me, I wish I could just think in English. That stuck with me. How language can feel like a barrier to being fully yourself.
Absolutely, Vilma. And it's not just the grammar, It's the way we perceive the world, isn't it? Through our language is identity, humor, confidence, and language is a way we blend in the society, in the teams. How you present, how you collaborate, even how you ask for help.
Yes. But before we move on, we just want to pause and acknowledge something that doesn't get said enough. Doing research abroad in a new system, a new culture, and especially in a new language is incredibly demanding. Yago, you've landed in a country with a different primary language. How has that shaped your days?
I would say it's still shaping my days now because I'm getting used really slow to it. But I guess it's just a matter of a time. You need to express ideas, as you said, or find words that you never thought you would need in English. And there's as well the Danish part. But for me, it's also exciting, like learning a new language while I'm learning something new about oncology.
Thank you. And there was a study that was published last year and looked at over 900 researchers and found that the non native English speakers consistently spend more time and effort on every part of the academic process, from reading articles, reading papers, to writing manuscripts to prepare. And I think there is something around the confidence there and how comfortable people are expressing themselves in academic language that is not their native language. And that's massive, isn't it? What are your thoughts about this barrier, this language barrier?
I think there is that barrier, but I also think that nowadays this is decreasing. But in my personal experience, of course, the first time I had to speak in English in front of an international audience, I remember it was in the European Lung Cancer Congress, and it was just for presenting a clinical case. But let's say that anxiety and other language don't do a good mix.
And Yago, these aren't isolated feelings. This kind of extra cognitive and emotional load often leads to a greater performance anxiety, especially early in someone's international career. Something we don't always see when looking at a curriculum vitae of someone. We see a CV and we see publication list, but we don't understand how fully demanding it has been to reach that place. And more importantly, if you're finding it hard, you're not alone. It's okay to feel that way. The academic system wasn't really built with this kind of complexity in mind. And it is true that in the last years, we are doing more fellowships abroad. And I think that is very important to fulfill and to progress in our careers. But we should also be open about it, that it might be difficult, and we should acknowledge that can go a long way.
Absolutely. And academia and medicine are universal, are global in a way. So we see a lot of student exchange, and people do travel with a specific project in mind. So the organizations and the universities have got systems in place, or I would hope they do, to account for all these complexities and make sure that the cultural differences and the language barriers are taken on board. So international fellowships can be very inspiring, but at the same time can be exhausting. You are expected to prove yourself, make your mark, often in isolation while everything around you feels entirely new. How do you think about burnout in this context, Yago, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, I think I see or I foresee three potential issues that can affect you within burnout. The first thing is that you're abroad without a social circle, and that could be very difficult if you're a shy person or if you don't find nice people within your group or within the place you live. So that's difficult. The second one, and it can be frustrating, is that we are used to be someone who has an idea about what you are talking about in the clinics. At first stage, you still, maybe you still have much to learn, but you can follow the cases and you can discuss them. But in the lab, you're a foreigner. You need to learn everything from zero, and that could be frustrating if you are not humble enough. And the third one, and I think we don't speak a lot about it, but it's a real important matter. It's the money, because unfortunately, these grants are a step back, and you need to do some economic sacrifice to go through this experience.
Actually, a study published in 2022 examined burnout in international medical students and found that factors such as professionalism and loneliness were predictive of burnout. The study emphasized the significant role that social isolation and a lack of supporting environments play in the emotional well being of these students. Well, what do you think of the risk of burnout in the absence of support and mentorship at the beginning?
Yeah, I think this study completely makes the point. It's completely accurate. To be honest, thank God I found a really good mentor, Marco Donia, who's a truly leader and a truly mentor, and I felt very welcome since minute one. But my experience could have been much worse without him, and I have friends who didn't have a proper mentor within their fellows, and it impacted really negative on their experience. Of that, I'm sure. You need someone to guide you, especially when you are approaching a complete new world, because you are alone and you don't know what's about.
Yes, Yago, support does matter, but it's not always there.
Joanna, mentorship, onboarding, community, those aren't optionals. They're what allow people to thrive.
And Yago, what kind of support, if any, has helped you adjust so far?
Yes, before the fellowship, I would say that I had two mentors before in my career, Mariano Provencio and Virginia Calvo. Both really guided me, listened to me, and helped me to drive according to what I want. I felt very lucky to have found these people in my career since I wouldn't be here without their guidance. However, I'm aware that finding a mentor sometimes can be tricky, especially if you are in a small hospital. So I could recommend for those who don't have one to get involved with maybe in mentorship programs. The European Society for Medical Oncology have one. So yeah, I think
Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Yago, about this, there's growing evidence that mentorship can be a real lifeline in our field. Like you said before, not just for developing skill, but also for protective well being. A 2023 national survey from the inaugural oncology mentorship program in Australia, led by Dr. Liu, found some pretty striking numbers. Over 80% of oncology trainees and more than three quarters of consultants reported burnout in the previous years. And I think these are numbers that should make us think of the importance of burnout in our workforce.
Absolutely, it's incredibly alarming, Vilma. Professional fulfillment was almost non-existent, and nearly a third of trainees screened for anxiety. What really stood out was that many cited heavy admin loads, patient pressure, and lack of supervision as major drivers. So it's clear that mentorship and structured support aren't just nice to have, are not a luxury, but they are essential.
And also finding purpose in a new place. There's this duality, right? You're learning every day, but you're also rebuilding who you are in this new space. Yago, have you had any moments yet that reminded you why you came, even with all the difficulty?
Yeah, the first time I saw melanoma tumor cells under the microscope was really exciting to me. Like, so this is how the enemy looks like. But what I mean is that we are not the only ones who have this focus in the lab. We know where these cells come from and the suffering that is behind that. And I think that guiding the translational research is one of our main duties, since research can give us the answers, but we, the oncologists, are the ones who know the questions.
And I think taking a step back, talking about all these challenges, predictably, I am going to ask the question, what boosts your resilience? What keeps you going?
Yeah, for me, feeling part of the group, the moment when you are in the meeting in the lab, you propose something, just wait for their answer, and it's not mad. That boosts me because it's like I'm learning and being part of it.
Thank you for sharing, Yago. And this reminds me of the first time I was in a translational lab in my observership in Pancreatic Cancer Center in NYU Langone. And I was quite nervous because I had never been in a lab working. But it is true that all the insights we have as oncologists are very needed to understand the lab support. And this integrates with all you've said, because actually one of the lab researchers that was there, the senior one, he took time to explain to me so we could do research together. And I fully agree that feeling part of the group is very important and definitely boosts the resilience during these moments of change.
As a radiation oncologist, I feel like an intruder now because I have not done lab research. However, clinical research comes with its own challenges, and I'm sure that my colleagues who have not done lab research will agree with me. So yes, we all need to be resilient through all these process. And before we close, we always like to end with a quick reflection round. So rapid fire questions, answers, and big insights. What is a quote that you love these days and keeps you going?
I'm not very much into quotes, but I would say that I'm starting to understand the quote by Socrates that I only know that I know nothing.
As a Greek, I hugely value that, and actually I can resonate.
Me too. I think it's indeed a very good quote. So actually, just to mention this very fast, researchers usually, we focus on what we don't know. So it is true that we need to keep investigating and find the answers to all those questions. Yago, what would you say to someone right now who's thinking, I want to do a fellowship abroad, but I have no idea where to start?
The first step, it's I would recommend thinking before the focus, what kind of focus of the fellow he wants, and after that, asking someone who has gone through this experience.
Iago, I think I don't know, a little bird told me that you have some sort of relationship with football. Can you share what this relationship is and whether that helped you in any way in your career in medicine and as a researcher?
Yes, before the specialization, I was a referee, a football referee for up to 10 years. And to be honest, it helped me a lot because it's nowadays we are seeing a lot of programs within the ISMO about leadership, and it helped me to boost my leadership and to boost my resilience because in a football match, if you are refereeing it, you need to speak with people with a high level of anxiety, and that could be tricky. So but it's also a learning, and you can translate it to the patients because we are dealing with super difficult situations, and sometimes could be some more or less similar.
And Yago, who's the next person you hope to open a door for?
Yeah, I hope one of my little residents, because they are just calling me every week since they look at me like if I'm a mentor or something because I'm doing a fellowship.
You will be a brilliant mentor because it's all these challenges that we face, and then we realize how important it is to support others and look out for each other. So for anyone listening who is about to move abroad for a fellowship, what would you say to them from where you are right now?
I would say that it's difficult, challenging, but I would make it again 100 times. It's worth it.
What would you say to institutions welcoming international fellows?
Yeah, I think that they are doing an exceptional work, and we have to learn in Spanish institutions in this setting, and we need to improve.
Yago, thank you for joining us in this early phase of your journey. It's powerful to hear your insights as they are unfolding, not just in the hindsight. And for everyone listening, remember, transitions can be really tough and learning takes time.
And it's absolutely okay to find it challenging. You are not alone in that, and it's the challenges that actually enable growth. To all our listeners, keep opening doors for yourselves and for others. This is Dr. Joanna Nixon.
I am Dr. Vilma Pacheco Barcia from Open Doors Podcast.
And remember, you belong in the room.
You belong in the room.